Hello there, daily riders. Zack here with RevZilla, and welcome to Los Angeles, California, inside RevZilla West and at the Daily Rider Leaderboard for the 2024 year in review. We're going to talk about some of the best bikes we rode this year, some of the more disappointing ones, and a few of the ones in between that maybe deserve a little bit more of a mention. There's going to be lots to talk about, everybody. Stick around. I'll be right back. Okie dokie, off we go on another year in review update where we talk about all the motorcycles ridden this year. We got 20 bikes on the board. Well, 22 maybe, because I think we rode a couple classics in there. We'll talk about that in a minute. It was quite a class, the class of 2024. Lots of diversity, big bikes, heavy bikes, cheap bikes, expensive bikes, so on and so forth. It makes sense, I think, that we start at the tippity top, right? And at the top we have BMW's R1300 GS, KTM's 890 SMT, and the KTM 1390 Super Duke. There's certainly a lot of people that throw shade at the daily rider process and say it's always an adventure bike that wins. Well, guess what, everybody? Adventure bikes are good at doing lots of stuff, especially commuting. Riding to work is a sort of a amalgamation, depending on what your commute is, of many other things. There are bumps, there's freeway travel, there's intersections and balance at low speed and all that jazz that we cover on every Daily Rider video. Adventure bikes just kind of do that pretty well. Now, the BMW 1300 GS is a bit of a polarizing update for BMW because the bike didn't necessarily get better in all the ways that everyone's expecting or from everyone's point of view. And hey, I'm right there with you. If you like to bicker about how it doesn't look as cool or how it's gotten softer or how there's too much technology in there, I get it. But please do keep in mind that the reason really that the BMW R1300 GS is at the top of the Daily Rider leaderboard are those foundational elements that we talked about in the video. The special suspension, the special chassis, the special engine, all of that turns into an experience that is just unique and it just delivers. It just does what it does better than just about any bike out there. And there are plenty of critiques, and rightly so. There are some missteps in there. I just don't think that I have heard a criticism to date that dethrones that bike in my mind as the king of do-it-all machines. You will notice, however, that the KTM 890 SMT gets a little smiley face. Two bikes got smiley faces this year, the 890 SMT and the Hyper 698 Mono from Ducati. And I gotta say that 890 SMT, when I look at the Daily Rider leaderboard, my heart of hearts, I'm sort of like, oh boy, that might be the one. That might be the bike. That might be the bike. But objectively, I stand behind the pick of the R1300 GS. So biggest disappointment of the 2024 board, the KTM 390 Duke is a bike that I wrote a fairly critical review of on our website. And I think that the missteps that bike makes, I find less excusable than most machines. I struggle with some of the awkward things about it and some of the feelings that I got from the engine. And at the same time, it's hard to just fully recommend against it. I think like foundationally, it has some good qualities and I like some of the stuff that it does. Just below the KTM 390 Duke is the Ducati Hyper 698 Mono. This is a bike that I just loved. I had so much fun on that bike. It was just great. I ripped around the city. I rode on twisty roads. I rode on a racetrack. I just love that bike. I think it's so fun. It's such a kind of strange design exercise to release on the world. And I hope we see more of that engine in Ducati's lineup. But ultimately, I wouldn't recommend it, I guess. It just like isn't really, I don't know, affordable or approachable or versatile enough for me to think that it's a good idea for most people to own, even though I just loved it. So am I pulling punches on the disappointments thing? Maybe, but I think largely we had some good bikes here. Sometimes people point out that expensive bikes end up at the top of the board, and that's a fair critique. You know how sometimes you spend more money on something and it's better? Right. But just for an exercise here, let's pull these bikes off of here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 of the top 7 bikes have dollar signs, which means they're around $20,000 or more for those bikes. So you take those off of there. You got your KTM 890 SMT, Moto Guzzi V100 Mandello, and BMW F900 GS. That's a pretty good 3-bike garage, I gotta say. That's one way to distill the value of a bike is to get rid of the expensive ones and say like, well, those are the ones you like that weren't expensive, so those ones are good. Then again, those bikes are pretty expensive too, right? It was like 14 grand for an 890 SMT and the better part of 16 for a Mandello. And then the F900 GS that we tested was like more than 18,000 bucks. That's not nothing. So then where's the value? How about a couple of Kawasaki's? Kawasaki Ninja 500 SE, there's probably something wrong with that bike. My foot hits the muffler, that's annoying. The dash buttons are like in the dash, it's kind of annoying. But man, is that a good bike. It's just really, really good. And it's a lot of bike for 6 grand or 6,300 bucks or whatever it is. So you got to give a nod to that thing. And then the Kawasaki Z900 SE. Now this was the first bike on the leaderboard in 2024. And I often came back to the Z900 as being sort of like, yeah, it's good at a lot of stuff, but it left me cold. But if you're looking for value on the board, you tell me what a Z900 SE does not do that anything else above it, well, F900 GS goes off-road, fair enough. Same with the 1300 GS, I suppose. M1000R from BMW is faster, certainly, like a lot faster. But like practically, capability-wise, what does a Z900 not do that a V100 Mandello does? Wind protection, this bike will do practically anything. And then it's 11,400 bucks, I think, or something, which is pretty good considering all the bikes that finished above it. So I had a little tip of the cap to the folks over at Kawasaki. All right, so I think last year we did an honorable mention of some kind. And in looking at the board here, these ultra super duper hyper naked bikes, the Super Duke and the M1000R, God, just, whoa, they're so fast and yet they're really good, capable street bikes that are reasonable somehow, even though they're so vicious and up spec and everything just works so well. And I love those bikes. I could also call out my old buddy, the R1, the Yamaha R1 down there near the bottom of the board because it's horrendously uncomfortable. But what a superb piece of engine. I just love that bike hasn't really changed in 10 years and it's still great. However, the honorable mention of 2024 has got to be the 1924 Harley-Davidson Model J. Are you kidding me? Daily Rider episode 100. It was just so cool to learn how to ride a bike with a foot clutch and a hand shift and just kind of take a little trip back in time to see what it was like to control a machine approximately 100 years ago. It was an awesome experience for me. I just loved it. I want to ride the bike more. It was so fun and engaging and emotive and special. I had a great time. I'd like to give a tip of the cap to that machine, but also an honorable mention to episode 100. We did it, everybody. We did 100 episodes of Daily Rider, which I didn't really expect when I started doing all this, but all that is to say, in winding down the video here, I so appreciate all of you out there in internet land who have decided to spend some time with me on my ride to work and talk about motorcycles. It really does feel special to have created this ecosystem and this community of people who care about these videos. Each one of these videos I put a little bit of effort into and I try to do my best with, but what I'm most proud of is the whole kit and caboodle. All these machines that have been ridden over these past few years. It's a cool thing to be able to reflect on, and I wouldn't really be able to reflect on it or tell myself that it's worth my time if it weren't for the people watching. So thank you very much. And I think that just about does it, everybody. What do we have coming down the pipe for 2025? I don't know what to tell you, but a little bit more of the same. I hope there'll be some surprises. I hope there'll be some interesting bikes. As usual, you can put your wish list down below in the comment section here for what you want me to ride in 2025. There were some suggestions for last year that I still haven't gotten around to, in part because not all the bikes are available yet. I'm still working on some things, I promise. But yeah, tell me what you want to see. And in the meantime, I hope you have an excellent end to your 2024 and a beginning to your 2025. And I'll see you on the Daily Ride, everybody.
All right, let's do a wheelie for crying out loud. There we go. Yeah, yeah. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, holy cow. Oh yeah. Wheelie in second gear, yeah. There we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, hey. Monstrous wheelies. Look at it go. Whoa, whoa. I wasn't expecting that.